Happy Sunday, Cool Shredders. It's AM with Boss, and we're going to close this one here. I've got it all stitched, and I have the closing already, okay? So I probably should have showed you how to do this, but all you're doing is you're just not pulling all the way straight through with the thread. Okay, so what we want to do now here is we want to kind of open this up. All right, you kind of want to keep these separate, because if they get all messed up, it's really hard to pull them. And the thing about this thread here is it likes to go other ways. It doesn't really like to cooperate, especially in the heat. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this. This one is gonna contain steel and sand. Sorry about that. Okay, so I already have Boss logos put on both ends. All right. So you're just going to take your pen here and you're going to kind of pull these away. Okay, and you want to really be careful because you can bust a stitch doing this. Okay, so then once you get it like this, you can take and pull it with your fingers. It's not the easiest thing to do, but what we're trying to do is turn this inside out. Now this is ST, which, like I said, is a little bit thicker and harder to get through. Okay, so you really don't want to be doing that. You want to kind of like, there we go. You want to kind of get it started like this. In the meantime, keeping all these threads separate from each other. Okay, and once you get it going, it's not really that bad. You just want to make sure you're pulling the bag all the way through. This is my nemesis right here. I'm not really down with turning ST because it's a lot thicker and it's not easy to turn. I don't really have a lot of strength in my hands today because of my main work, but I'm doing the best I can, so just bear with me, okay? You want to kind of pull these over so you're trying to get the whole bag. Want to be sure not to pop a stitch, because like I said, you pop a stitch and then you got to go back and fix it. Alright, so here we go. It's turning. Albeit slowly, it's turning. LT is a lot easier to turn than ST or anything thicker than that. Ultra leather is also easy to turn. Okay, so now we have basically the whole bag turned. Alright, so then what I like to kind of do is like pull it out here and then stick my pen or whatever I'm using back in there to kind of stretch it out a little bit. Okay. Now this is very important here. We want to kind of go underneath all of these. See how you want them all like this. Okay. Right here. You want to go up underneath these, because if you get those intertwined, you will have a very hard time. Okay, so you want to like find a seam here and like be coming out somewhere like right there and just pull, and see those are all away, so that's all good. Okay, so now we'll open the bag, we'll grab the funnel, we'll stick the funnel down in there. Okay, and then we're going to slowly kind of pour in our steel and sand. And I've reinforced this bag, seeing as how it's got both steel and sand, so we don't have any sand leaking out anywhere. Okay, make sure everything gets in there. Everything's in there. Putting that bad boy back over there. Alright, now here's the important part. When you're closing, Like I said, you want to keep all of these separate. And you want to start on the opposite side of where your needle and thread are, okay? So we're going to start here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull. And if you're not sure, you can just try pulling. Okay, so I do know that we have to start pulling this one first. Which way? It's going to depend. So you'll go up here and you'll see that starting to tighten. So now what you want to do is kind of like take and make sure this material is kind of like down. Like a lot of people I've seen just pull the thread at the end and be done with it. And that's not really the best way to go. Okay, you see how that's kind of coming through here? And I'm pulling it. Alright, when the material gets like this, you'll take your tweezers and kind of fold it in gently. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. I'm not looking at the camera here. But when you do that, now you want to come over here and you start pulling at the opposite end. Okay, so that's not the end. You want to go over here and start pulling this end, and make sure you do not get any kinks in the thread, because if you do, it's very hard to get it out. Okay, and what you'll do is you'll pull nice and tight. Okay, and then it's on to the next one, which is going to be this one here. And each time you do this, you want to kind of like fold that material in a little bit. I kind of like do it like this. Okay, and then pinch it. And then start pulling that thread. Okay, so you're closing. Alright, keep going with it. And pull it tight. Okay, and see how it's closing? And it's off to the next one. And you're always going opposite sides, opposite side. Okay, see, now we're going to be pulling from this top. And if you can grab it with your fingers, you know, that's an advantage. I kind of like to use the tweezers because the tweezers really help a lot. And you want to pull tight. Okay, and we'll get that one out of the way, and we'll come over here to this next one. Like I said, kind of like push that material down in there and pick it up. All right, see, we're gonna have to pull from the top here. Okay, once you see that, okay, see how it's coming? You just want to, basically, it's really important to keep all these threads separate. Okay, but pulling all at the same time. Okay, so now we're just gonna like take and fold the material in and pick up right here. I want to pull that a little bit. Yeah, closing kind of gets me a little bit, because I've had thread kink up and it's just a real pain. Okay, see how that's closing up there? And pull it real tight. You want to make sure you pull it nice and tight. Okay, so you don't want to see that thread. All right, and then we have this one here, so we'll pick up. Sometimes I like to use the butt of the, and that's funny, I like to use the butt of the tweezers to kind of get it started. Okay, and see how that wants to turn a little bit. Just don't really let that do that, because that's a good sign of kinking. Okay, so then you'll pull and pull and pull. Just remember where you're pulling. Okay, so you want to see, I just did it right there. You just want to make sure you're pulling the right ones. Sometimes that don't always happen, you know. And if you have to pull that one back out, just do so. Alright, so we're pulling this one, and we want to pull it nice and tight. Okay, not enough to break it, just enough to tighten. And so now we're on to the last one. And really, when you get right here, if you see this, you want to straighten that out, because that's the last thing you need right now is a kink when you're trying to close a bag. Okay, and make sure you're pulling both at the same time. you'll pull it nice and tight. And then you can, you know, you can always straighten it out to your liking. And then what I do is take a knot. Just make sure this is nice and tight. You don't want to see any threads. Okay. And you don't want to see where you've closed it either. So then you'll take and make your block knot. At least that's what I call it. It blocks the knot from coming out of the bag itself. Now, if you fill too heavy, sometimes it can bust the block knot. So I advise not to fill too heavy with whatever you're filling with. Okay, and then you'll take and you'll knot one more time. I like to give it 2. Seeing as how this is, it would be more on a thinner material like ST. Okay, I'd say maybe 3 to 4 knots to make that block knot right. Okay, and you want to go right on top of that first knot. I got to get my fingers in the way here. Okay, and then I take the tweezers and I kind of like push it down like this. Okay, then we're going to go right down here in this seam, open seam down here. Okay, you want to go right down here and then turn the needle right around and come out. Oops, I'm getting caught on the tweezers. Okay, and you want to pull that. I always put my thumb here because if you get a knot in this process, you're doomed. All right, so then pull, and you should feel it pop. And then what you'll do is you'll take your scissors and you'll get right up close to the edge here. And then you'll roll it around in your hands. I don't see any sand, anything leaking out. And that will suck that little part of the thread back into the bag itself. All right, so I hope that really explained how to close. And I had a very good one, so I'm really pleased about that. Hope you'll stick around next Sunday for snippets. Got some more cool stuff fixing to happen here at the Boss Stitcher's desk. All right? So kick it high, let it fly, play like a boss, y'all. Peace.